Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Ambassador, thank you very much for being with us today, and thank you for all the great work that you do. It's a pleasure working with you. I've got three issues that I'll just raise, and then I'll let you respond to all three of them. First, I'm increasingly concerned about Mexico's ability to implement its historic labor reforms. The pandemic has served to highlight some of these issues. There are numerous reports about Mexican workers being forced to go back into unsafe working conditions. You know that I raised this with you personally. Thank you for your response yesterday, but nonetheless, it's still an issue. And this is in part U.S. companies pushing this, and in some instances, members of the administration pushing it as well. And so I'd like to know how you plan to effectively use the tools that you have that given to you in this historic USMCA that we worked on together to make sure that the Mexican labor reform actually comes to fruition. Second, as you know, there's been a reduced or postponed excise tax provision in place since 2017, and it's been extended now to the end of 2020. There's a problem that a lot of folks are having because Alcohol, Tobacco Tax and Trade Bureau, they deal with the domestic tax issues, and Customs and Border Patrol deal with the foreign produced alcohol that's imported into the U.S. And so it puts folks in a difficult position when they're not working from the same set of rules. And I'd like to know what you can do to work with your colleagues at Treasury to make sure we're all on the same page and that these provisions are being implemented evenly between foreign, imported, and domestic. And then lastly, we're getting a lot of attention in regard to our trade issues because of COVID. But as we know, and as the National Bureau of Economic Research pointed out, we were going into recessionary times before COVID. And all the leading economists tell us it's because of these tariff wars that we've been subjected to. And I know in my district, the leading industries in regard to export are hit extremely hard because of tariffs and the tariff wars. Wine, which is the big product in my district, takes a huge hit because of these tariffs. So I'd like to know what USTR is doing and planning to do to resolve the ongoing trade disputes with our trading partners without resorting to additional tariffs and tariff wars. So I appreciate your response on those three issues.
Great, thank you, Congressman. And you know, I should specifically, along with several of the other members of the task force, thank you for all your great work with us on USMCA. So I would say, first of all, this issue of supply chains running through Mexico. Some of you may have seen that I wrote a New York Times op-ed last week or the week before, a couple of weeks ago, basically making this point that these businesses that thought they were so clever running these supply chains all over the world instead of making the stuff in the United States now realize that they were taking on substantially more risk than they thought they were, and that this was a problem. And I think this was an example of it. And hopefully, business is learning that you can run these supply chains right through the United States, and it's a safer, better way to do it. I would say on the issue of labor enforcement, I have stated, and I will state again, we fully expect to bring every case that is a legitimate case, and we have pressed and will continue to press Mexico. And I think that they operate, to be honest, for the most part in good faith. I think AMLO is a really square guy. But even with that, it's going to be really, really hard for them to do it. And I don't think that all members of their system want to have labor reform. So we will do, between rapid response and state to state, we will take the actions that are required. I'm happy to work with the Treasury Department to answer your question on excise taxes, and I'll certainly make that call tomorrow. The third point you make, which is about getting rid of tariffs on imported wine. We all know what the context is. The context is that we won a 15-year case because we lost a lot of jobs because Europe was subsidizing Airbus, and we'll continue those tariffs in place until we resolve that issue. I would say I understand that there are people who import wine that don't like the tariffs. On the other hand, many members of this committee and in Congress generally come from areas that have, in my judgment, the best wine in the world, and there's no tariff on any of it. Finally, I would just say the notion that we were going into a recession before COVID is just absolutely, I've never heard of such a thing, to be honest with you. I've never seen anybody ever say that before in my entire life, and hope I never hear it again. The reality is we had the lowest unemployment, we had the fastest growing economy, and I want to just lay down the marker without elaborating that I think that's totally untrue.